Okay, looks like there's just a couple more still getting connected. Okay, great. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our Manufacturing Week session with a virtual tour of Trane. Today, we just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors as we begin. We have our presenting sponsor, University of Arkansas Fort Smith, and our hosting sponsors, ABB, OK Foods, QualServe, and Ream. Our partner sponsors this week have been Gerdau and Weatherbar. Our t-shirt sponsors, Chaffee Crossing, Covia, Gerber, Harness Roofing, Copco, Pradco, United Way of Fort Smith, and Trane Technologies, who you're going to get to see today. And then Preferred Office Technologies and Stainless Innovations have been our supporting sponsors this week. So everything we have done this week and all of our events, we are grateful to our sponsors for allowing us to support us, for us to be able to hold this event for our members. So we thank them for that. So today we're going to go ahead and kick things off. We're just a little after 10, and today with us at Trane, we have Brad Daniel, who is the manufacturing engineer, and he's going to literally walk us through Trane today. I think over there with him, joining him is also plant manager Justin Johnson, so I'm sure we'll hear a little bit from him here and there. We're going to start off with a PowerPoint, and so they're going to share their screen. They're going to go through a few slides and talk about Trane as a whole, and then he's going to physically walk us through the plant. So thank you again for joining us. If you have any questions as he goes through, please submit those in the chat, and we'll gather them at the end and then recap those questions. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Brad.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
So hello, everyone. My name is Brad Daniel. I've been with Trane here for just a few months, started earlier this year. So as you have questions, I would just ask that you save those for the end. We do have my plant manager here, Justin. I'm going to be relying on him for some of those questions you might have. And then we'll also have another one of our team members who is, he's been here for quite a while, and he can definitely answer a lot of those technical questions or anything that you might have. So first, I'd like to present a slideshow. Going to give you an idea for the work that we do, and then I'll walk you out through the plant. There it is. All right, so we are Trane Custom Manufacturing, and we're located here in Fort Smith. We have at this facility been manufacturing for over 25 years. And so what we do is custom air handlers. And so what that means is the heating and cooling units that provide the air conditioning and heating. Those are custom spec from whatever application there may be, large industrial facilities, medical buildings, and things like that. And so I'll let Justin speak about our different products here.
So Trane has a variety of products across the globe. And over on the far right of this screen, you'll see the TCPS and the TCPA. That's the two product lines that we build here in Fort Smith. And really that goes back to what Brad was saying. This is not a assembly line like a lot of other manufacturing of air handlers that you would see. So they're all engineered one-off, various casing sizes, shapes, designs, material, applications. We also compete in this market space with a lot of other skilled craftsmen. So Daikin, York, Carrier, Ream, all are competitors in the market space.
All right, so all of our units are designed to meet, custom specifications, performance needs for, like I mentioned before, sometimes they're medical facilities or science industry facilities, and so every customer has a specific application, and we test those and make sure that the units are properly engineered and meeting those specifications. And so, depending on the application, there may be, some very specific or unique um, things like tolerances or special components that aren't typically used, or materials. And so we have to test those and make sure that everything is going to function properly as intended and be a good quality product for the customer. So we would do leakage testing, airflow testing, vibration and sound, and then deflection as the air is moving through the unit. You will have pressure differentials, and you'd want to make sure that structurally you're not having that deflection that may cause other issues. Okay, so we have a large array of software and controls programs that we use. The customer is able to view their unit in 3D and see it as it's functioning. So we give the customer a very unique experience with their product, and allow them to control it and really change things on the fly, monitor their unit, make sure it's performing properly, and create and generate reports based on the performance of the unit.
So the TCPS model that we talked about earlier, that's one that was generated out of a need for increasing our turnaround time for engineering and gain a competitive edge in the market. So we created this TCPS, which for all laughing purposes, we deemed it as Trane Custom Fort Smith, but the FS is actually meaning Field Selectable. So this allows the sales engineers out across the world in the country to be able to select the unit, design it right there in front of the end customer, the general contractor, to get immediate approval on a final design. So they're able to select the casing wall thickness, the various options as far as coils or fans, the styles, the brands, anything that the customer wants to spec out. And they can basically put that unit together right there in the matter of a couple hours or over the course of a couple of days, working hands-on with the end customer.
So again, going back to the controls there, the factory installed controls are, we have comprehensive options there for the customer depending on what their needs are. And we also develop our own software packages and control systems. But those are individually programmed here at the facility to match whatever the customer wants, how they want to control it. And so they really have a really versatile specification. They can tell us exactly what they want, and we'll provide that for them. So installing the units, these you can see from their size here, the scale is pretty large, and so what we like to say here is we build air handlers that are bigger than your house, and that's really true. So you can see just the large scale of the type of unit that would be installed. And so this is an example of Mercy Rogers Hospital, and then also in St. Louis. So these, they're big units and being placed up on rooftops most of the time. Some of them are installed by section indoors, but a lot of these larger units are going on rooftops somewhere that has a large facility. So what I like to do now is kind of walk you through the plant and show you how the units are assembled from start to finish, and then we'll come back to the conference room and take questions. So if you do have questions, please write them down or send them in the chat so that we can talk through those when we're done. So I'll stop sharing my video for just a moment so you don't see my shaky camera. Just aim it over there.
So that's right here. Oh, they're looking at me.
All right. So I'll try to speak up as well as I can. So we're starting out here in part of our fabrication department. So this is where most of the raw materials come into the plant. So what you see in front of you is a machine that's called the decoiler. So this machine will take raw coils of steel, aluminum, stainless steel, and we'll bring those coils in, we'll flatten them out, and then cut them into usable sizes. And so after they go through that decoiling process, they'll either be cut on a shear or a laser. And so right behind you here, we have a shear machine. So this would take those larger sheets and cut them down even further. On the shear, most of the time we're cutting simple parts that don't need much additional processing, that are easy to finish and then send out to assembly. And so the more complex parts would be cut at the laser. So we'll walk that way now.
You're saying I'm not still, huh? They can probably hear me talking.
Go around.
That's fine. Go through there. That's good.
This is our laser, and this is where we would load the sheets of steel to be cut. So we can cut them into pretty much any 2D shape or profile. Here at this facility, we cut up to 3/8 inch steel. And so those components would then be used for either creating the insulated panels that we make for the units, or some of the components go straight through assembly or back in what we call our base department, which is where we weld the structural bases of the machine. We also here at the laser, we etch the parts that would be going to the different departments, so they're more easily identified. They can also directly tell the operators what additional processes may need to be done to those parts. So we also have press brakes here that would help us form the steel. Essentially, we would use those press brakes for components that need a little bit more finesse. The press brakes give us more variability in the forming process, so they're pretty versatile. The panels that are used on a press brake are typically larger and sometimes more complex. So next we'll step through the base department and show you how the structural bases are welded.
I gotta set it down. I'm shaky.
All right, so in front of you, you can see one of our welding stations where we're currently assembling one of these. So in front of you, you see a welding station. We're currently welding one of our structural bases. You can see the structural components that are underneath, and then some of those sheet metal formed components that are on top. And so as these are processed, the operators are looking at the drawings, making sure that they comply with those custom specifications from the customer. So after these are, after the components for the structural base are cleaned and cut, they'll be welded. Sometimes we use aluminum and stainless materials for the bases as well, and steel. So after the base is finished, we insulate the bottom of the unit so that we can make sure that we optimize heating and cooling performance.
Where you want to be?
Stop.
set it on the rollerball table right here.
All right, so this area is called our panel line. And essentially, this is where we create those insulated panels. So furthest down is the folder machine. And so those will form the panels to shape. And then they'll move on down to where we would spot weld them. So the spot weld is a resistance welder that fuses the material together. And what we use it for is adding structure into those panels so that they're stronger. Then moving on, you can see a series of conveyors. We move down to what we call the setting area. And the setting area is where the panel skins are prepped for the foaming process, where they get insulated. So they're assembled with an adhesive gasket. And then we use tape and foam blocks to control the flow of the foam insulation as it's being injected, and also venting any gas that comes out of the foam during that injection process. So the machine that you see in front of you is called the foamer. So this foaming machine actually injects the foam insulation to a panel like the one that you see laying on a table in front of you. So the foam press actually clamps the panels together. The base is heated so that we make sure that the foam can flow properly and that it cures the way it should. So the foam is also injected strategically based on how we anticipate that the foam will flow through the internal structure of the panel. And the panels are actually the structure of the unit assemblies. So it's very important that there aren't any voids and that the foam has proper adhesion to the skins and the internal structure. So then we'll talk about the skins.
What do you want?
So this is what we call our sub-assembly area. And this is where we would create some of those walls for the internal components to mate together in the units. And then further off in the distance, you can see the assembly of the fans that blow the air through the units as well. So for the sub-assembly area, the fans are custom spec for each application, and they're assembled into arrays to provide a large amount of airflow. What you see in front of you on this cart is called a C-panel. We use a crimping process to make sure that we achieve a mechanical connection between those smaller panel assemblies. And then the C-shaped design adds structure to the walls and components. We also have what we call the wall assembly area, where all of the panels are assembled together to later be put on the unit. So all of these panels are different sizes, and they may have openings for clearance for doors or other components like dampers. So the doors are installed in this sub-assembly area, and then they're sealed with caulking to make sure that we're not going to have any leakage issues later on. Go to flow line. So this is where we actually assemble the units together, and you can see now these large insulated panels that are sitting on top of the bases, and you can even see where we've installed some of the components. And so we call these flow lines. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the assembly is happening at a steady rate so that we're able to deliver to the customer on time. So the walls that you see are sub-assembled and installed in sections. They're insulated and provide structure for the unit. So squaring and proper placement ensures that the components will fit correctly in the larger assembly steps. On top of the unit is the roof. So the design depends on if it's an indoor or an outdoor install. And the roofs are also insulated and also provide structure for the unit. Some of the additional components to be installed, things like heating and cooling coils, heat wheels, fans, dampers, and filters. And so after these units are assembled, they may be test fitted because the sections that you see in front of you are part of one unit that will later be assembled in the field. So part of that fit testing is we may actually have electrical testing. So we have electricians on staff that install all of the electrical boxes, conduit, controls, and they'll do the electrical testing. The electrical portion of the install may have regulations for the National Electric Code and custom specifications for the customer, but also local regulations that we have to consider for the location of where this unit is installed. So the controls and programming are designed in-house, as we discussed before, for the customer's application. So this is where this is the end of the line where the electrical is being installed, and most of the components are already in the units. So at this point, the units are ready for painting, and so the paint spec will depend on the material that's used and also the customer's application. The custom specs and regulations for indoor units, outdoor units, and corrosive environments are also considered when we are selecting that paint. Some units also may not get paint depending on what material is used. So after those are painted, they may go through an additional testing process for leakage testing, checking other components and functionality as a full assembly. And then after that, the units are again pulled apart into separate sections. They're prepared for shipping and head on their way to the customer.
Okay, so we are back in the more quiet conference room, so we can hear if you do have any questions. I see there's a couple chats here. Maybe not. So if you do have any questions, we'd be happy to answer any of those.
So it looks like there's one question that's come through. How many people does Trane employ in Fort Smith?
Sorry, I was shutting the door.
So how many people does Trane employ here at Fort Smith?
So our total staff, salary and hourly, runs about 230 employees.
Okay. And then another question had come up just talking about COVID issues this year. Have y'all experienced anything as far as like supplies, delays from that, or what has been just kind of your overall issues that y'all have had to overcome concerning that?
Is this in regards with like the impact on supplier from COVID?
I mean, just yes, that, and then also just kind of in general, some have just had issues where it's more, concerns with their employees. Others have just been about, supply, getting issues with supplies to build their products, things like
Yeah,
that.
so as far as our suppliers, up until probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we really didn't have much supplier constraints. I mean, we work pretty close with placing orders well in advance. I mean, it's not we're not stocking the same part where we need 1,000 of them. We're ordering parts 8, 10, 12 weeks in advance of when we actually need it. So I don't think we've experienced as much of the obstacles with suppliers during COVID as some other manufacturing sites in the area or across the globe. As far as ways to overcome that, being an engineered to order facility, custom, kind of our backstory on the way we built units in the past, we're able to mask a lot of late arrival of supplies, which we're going at now. We've transitioned by using lean principles and lean tools to start transitioning to flow. So it's going to become an issue if components are late. We see that right now, and one of our driver metrics that we're going after is supplier on-time delivery. For the past few years, on-time delivery of supplies has been probably about 65 to 70% on time, depending on the month you're at. But when we go to flow, that has to be upwards of 95%, 97%, so we don't shut a line down. So it will become a more important topic as we start making this transition into next year with the commitment of flow line.
Gotcha. That makes sense. A couple other questions that have come through. What skill sets are you looking for in regards to hiring?
You want to answer?
Yeah, so really we're looking for any level of skill set. So most of the leadership here at this facility actually started on the floor. Some of them even as temporary employees, and so really we're looking for anyone really just has a good work ethic and is interested in creating a career here at Trane. And so we mentioned before, we have electricians on staff, we have engineers, we have designers, we have a lot of people that are maybe in the have business degrees or health and safety, those different areas. So really, it's a very broad spectrum, but the important part is just someone who's dedicated and is going to be looking to be a part of a bigger team.
Okay, and then another question that came through that's kind of connected to that is, do you still use students during the summer? This person saying that they used to work there before college many years ago, and everything is so different, and it's neat to see the changes. Has that changed?
Yeah, so I think our summer help Our peak has tend to slide back and forth. It's not traditional. But we do bring in, during the summertime, we do bring in some students. It's a great opportunity for students or young adults to get their first experience in a real job, right? Not necessarily a grocery store, but experience manufacturing. You know, it's a good paying job. It's a good starting spot for any local individual. With Trane's offers as far as development and growth, I mean, that's probably the big thing that keeps people around too, is the investment in people. It's not just here's a job. It's no, here, we want to start a career with you. We want you to be on the Trane family.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Good. Another question that's come through: has the pandemic caused job loss or layoffs?
You know, that's actually pretty interesting, because with the pandemic right now, there's a big shift in focus on sustainability and indoor air quality. And what we do here at Trane Custom, which none of the other Trane plants do, is we're able to manipulate the flow of air in a multitude of ways. Other facilities are seeing a decline. We're actually seeing an increase in orders for custom air handlers because of the pandemic and the focus on indoor air quality.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And then another question, from the Zero Street facility location, were you able to bring employees to this current facility?
Yeah, that we do have some that have transitioned over, been hired on.
Okay,
Yes.
good to know. Okay, we'll pause for just another minute. Are there any other questions? If anyone wants to submit, we'll keep an eye on the chat and just hold for another minute or so. Okay, well, I'm not seeing anything else come through just yet. So if that changes, I'll be sending out the contact information. So if anyone else wants to, if they think of something later that they want to pass on, we'll send off your contact information. This session was recorded, so I'll also be sending a link out to everybody for that. So if you wanted to go back and replay anything, you're welcome to. There's some comments going on saying thank you. This was a fun tour. Thank you for taking the time to do this for us. Those chats are coming through right now. So yes, I'll tag on to that. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Brad, for your time today and allowing our chamber members to join in. And I think that there's also some Fort Smith Public School attendees on here, so the students are going to get to enjoy this as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys for joining.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.